Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Spring 2018. And I know it might not come as much of a surprise that KONGDOO Monster fell down against Jin Air in game number 1, but it was how it happened that I think is the most interesting. They drafted right for what we assume is a decent composition on 8.4, and then straight up weren't able to execute.
Yeah, to the tune of almost it being a perfect game for Jin Air. The single kill, gang assist coming through from the unstoppable onslaught onto Grace, the only thing preventing a perfect game, but Jin Air showed better mastery of the patch, got full value out of the Olaf, not necessarily in killing Ryze, but more so in terms of monopolizing the early Drakes, and just played this first game very cleanly on the wrist. So nicely done by the side of Jin Air. Unfortunately for KONGDOO, so work to be done to fully understand the ramifications of patch 8.4. Your MVP here, definitely two candidates that stick out in the mind, but UmTi, for his good jungle control, does pick up his second MVP of spring season.
Yep, 106, undefinable KDA here for the Olaf, as we're going to look at his solo of the Dragon here at about 3 minutes, which certainly was good.
You know what was one other fun thing?
What was it?
Looking at his runes, he took water walking to have the extra movement speed in the river, and spent so much time in the river, all 3 clips so far. He wasn't counter jungling, he was controlling Drake. This was the smart Baron that kind of closed the game on the mid-game comp that KONGDOO Monster had chosen to draft. And the Olaf was everywhere he needed to be. The objective control was top-notch, so well-deserved MVP for UmTi.
Yeah, shout out to Wraith as well. I mean, Cosmic Radiances were fantastic, and he was the one that really got the jungle rolling with Ryze falling in the early game. The SoHwan also needs an honorable mention from the top side of the map. The build was genius, and he was most certainly unkillable towards the later stages of the game. But I'm glad that UmTi managed to get this MVP, Papa, because I feel like he's the one on Jin Air that is the closest to getting buffed by the patch, because he has been aggressive in the early game, sometimes to a fault.
There is UmTi staring into your soul.
Well, at least he's not telling us to...
And his family's here, so there's another couple of people to stare at here. So they got to see their son win an MVP.
And he's very nonchalant today. Very nonchalant. Not doing the slit your throat references.
Apparently not. I don't think Mother would appreciate that.
Exactly.
But
instead, he's just looking like a gentleman.
Speaking of appreciation, the Appreciation Society for Ryze, unfortunately, was a very early season thing for KONGDOO Monster, and he will be subbed out. Return of Yujun. Started off more aggressive, at least in not shown in his most played, or most recently played. Largely has been a like-for-like with Ryze. Ryze, after going down to the enemy Taric and in general being dictated to, probably smart from a mentality side to bring in a new jungle.
Well, he hasn't been very successful so far. Yujun hasn't found himself any victories on the side of KONGDOO Monster so far this season, but played a lot more of these aggressive junglers like you were talking about, so might be able to go fight for fight when it comes to UmTi's thrashing of the jungle in game number 1. Rengar, Kha'Zix, and the Lee Sin that you talk about are the ones that spring to mind. They're going to need a lot of changes, a lot of adaptation if KONGDOO are going to turn themselves around and right the ship heading into game number 2, because Jin Air, they just played a composition that they liked. They just changed the way they played it to be more mid-game focused, and it worked out so well. So let's have a look about what changed, and the Olaf being taken away from UmTi makes a lot of sense here from KONGDOO.
Yeah, I was going to say either a first pick Olaf or a ban is what KONGDOO Monster needed to do on blue side, and that is what they do employ in this game. Imagine UmTi will go onto his second string of aggressive junglers. Remember, the Skarner was actually not picked or banned in game 1, which was a bit of a unique thing to see with its recent priority, but the priority has been going down a little bit after there being so many games where Skarner has been unable to find a target. Speaking of targets here, though, a lot of attention to the AD carries so far, as even the Caitlyn is going to be banned away from Teddy.
Yeah, certainly a lot of focus on the mid lane on red side last time around. Yujun going to have his Kha'Zix banned away here as well, so that's going to be the change. Galio looking a little bit away from this draft until we've got him banned. 3rd spot here for KONGDOO, giving Jin Air the opportunity to take away the Ryze if they want to destroy that first pick opportunity for Edge.
I think if you ban away one of Ryze or Sion, they'll just be first picked by KONGDOO, so I'm interested to see what the approach is here by Jin Air. To me, those are the two champions you look at. You could just ban Azir. Stop there being from as many options. They will ban the Azir and basically say, which of the two do you want? I imagine it will be a visit to one of those two, but always the chance that Xayah Rakan will also be high priority in the draft.
Yep, have to remember that Roach is one of our other top lane Ryze players as well, but it's going to be the AD carry position, Sol, taking away the Xayah, and I like this. With the nerf to the Kalista Rakan not going to be an opportunity, so you can first pick Xayah and feel like you're probably going to be able to get the Rakan in the next round.
So does SoHwan want to play the Sion because Ryze and Taliyah are both available? So I would love to see something like the Tristana locked in here. Tristana and Taliyah would be the draft I'm looking at, but the Ryze also would fit that. So see if Jin Air wants to actually put that attention into the mid lane at this time.
Might want to just lock in a bottom lane here as well, leave everything open, but I do like your idea. I feel like Taliyah a much more fun pick and has been getting a lot of attention, especially yesterday. We saw Taliyah on the ban list in almost every single game. So UmTi seeing what he actually wants to grab. Could also be a jungler.
Jin Air have also shown excellence on the Taliyah, but they're going to hold that pick till later. Seems like UmTi will be jumping onto the Skarner.
Yeah.
Now that Olaf has been taken away.
You're pretty easily able to pick up the Sejuani though, so answers what could be some pressure UmTi's going to put on, but there's the Rakan, sort of priced into picking that one as the final for KONGDOO.
You could take a mid laner and ban away 2 at this particular pick, or you could go for a support. I like the mid lane approach.
Yeah, also gives them the opportunity to get rid of the Sion, and I think that's fantastic.
Sion Taliyah could definitely be the 2 bans on the red side if Jin Air wants to go down that route.
The only thing that really gave Jin Air a problem in game number 1 was that Sion in the mid lane. Aurora the Slayer actually found the Azir almost every single time from Edge, showing that he has put a lot of time into it, but Cassiopeia going to be the ban.
Should be mentioned that the Sion hitbox on the E is very generous on patch 8.4. It's fixed on patch 8.5, so in a short lane like mid, it's almost impossible to miss Aurora of the Slayer on this particular patch. Another reason why such a capable mid laner. Cassiopeia, another champion who got indirectly buffed with the change to Tyr and Archangel into the Seraph's Embrace, and it seems like they're happy to leave Sion up, as there is the double ban. Now, SoHwan could just pick it on the first pick for the top lane.
Or Wraith could play it on the bottom side of the map as well. I mean, last time we saw it, I'm pretty sure it picked up a quadra kill, Papa Smithy.
Max.
I like how it sounded like you were being
value.
exasperated at me as well as talking about the support player.
Now, Leona is the common pick into Xayah and Rakan because her Zenith Blade follows the dashes. Specifically, the Rakan is actually someone she can gap close on that many other supports are unable to do so because of his long-range disengage with the Battle Dance. So we see this once again. It's a favorite of Wraith, who played it even on Samsung Galaxy throughout the course of 2017.
Yeah, hasn't been on too many of the engaged supports though. He's certainly been favoring the likes of Taric, Tahm-Kench, and the Braum, which have been sitting at the top of the table. But Sion, once again, very easily locked away for either Edge or Roach, and we'll find out on this last pick where it's going to be going.
Want damage with this pick most likely, otherwise you could go for the same comp as game 1 if you're confident you can adjust your early game pathing. So, very interested to see what they go on. It will once again be the mid lane Sion. Largely Xayah focused in damage, and compared to Ezreal, who has a very easy 2-item spike, the Xayah takes longer to come online. So I think the macro play from KONGDOO is going to be even more scrutinized in this game compared to game 1, because the timings will be harder to execute. Jin Air will have more damage on the side of KONGDOO Monster as the game goes long. Predictably, we're going to get the Ultra Tank matchup in the top side. They have such a balanced draft, they have really no incentive to go for the Alawi that SoHwan has last picked into champions like Ornn and Sion. They'll just go for the Ornn. They have very good engage, Solar Flare, and the Call of the Forge God. Good sieging. They could have gone to Taliyah and had great sieging, but they were happy with the Ryze and the ability to play the 1-3-1. But this is the lane that BDD did great things on in the Sion versus Ryze matchup. We'll see how Jin Air is able to circumvent the potential for the Sion to just ignore all that damage.
And whether KONGDOO is going to be able to effectively put on the pressure in the early game. They've once again gone for a composition that has basically all AD and then a scaling AD carry that's not necessarily going to be able to get the work done in the late game as far as damage and damage variance is concerned as well. So KONGDOO have just done the same thing once again, and now they need to execute correctly.
Feels a little bit like we're back in 2015 and the true poke comps that are kind of out of the meta now, with Warmogs being introduced to back, where you had Jace Nidalee, and it was, did they win at 25 minutes? If not, they'd probably lose the game. It's kind of similar in construction here, but the fact that it's scaling carry from AD rather than the Ezreal, who's so quick to get going, is a further concern unless KONGDOO Monster can completely, with Yujun in the lineup, throw out the playbook from Game 1 and really control the pace of Game 2.
Yeah, and get some of these lanes ahead. The Sejuani really needs to be proactive moving around the map. We know that UmTi on this Skarner is going to be trying to do the same thing, but not necessarily equipped with a champion as good at it when he has his Olaf banned away. So guys, not too many changes in the draft. Can KONGDOO do it this time as we get into Game 2? Hey, at least the Jin Air GreenWings fans are making some noises after Game 1 was very convincing with a very Jin Air composition. Now moving it more towards something slightly more 8.4 vibed with a whole lot of engage opportunities. We saw Call of the Forge God plus a whole lot of engage coming out yesterday, and that was something that was very difficult to deal with.
Fantastic team comp for Skarner to get his first Impale off on. In every lane, they have good damage and good CC, so
yeah,
very much
Skarner's dream.
Absolutely. Predator into an Impale will, unless there's a great counter gank from Yujun, seems to be a 100% success rate in this game with how well the lanes are set up for him to do so.
Yep, speaking of which, Yujun going for the Aftershock, so not going to have the extra speed as far as the jungle clear in the early game that I was actually expecting from the jungler, but just does want to have a little bit more of that tankiness.
Second time SoHwan has gone for Grasp in a range matchup. This was never done in the early parts of the season when Unsealed Spellbook was at full strength and you could go Ignite and have a bit of lane control that way. Have a lot of situational things to happen to actually get your Grasp auto off against a Gnar, but SoHwan, at least if the gank comes through from the side, from the Skarner, will definitely have a lot of gank options.
Damn, Teddy did way more damage than Sol. Surprise, surprise, in game number 1. As you saw, Wraith as well having a much better time. Secret was basically absent. And this is where KONGDOO Monster will want to push inherent advantage with the Lovers duo having some fun on the bottom side of the map, despite Wraith picking that. Leona still should mean that they have some ways to deal with the Tristana-Leona combo.
I really do like mid lane Sion. To move it to the mid lane against Ryze, just because Ryze wave clear is so situational in the early game, requires spell threading, and feels like he'll take more decimating smashes than a lot of champions, as that was a nice trade from Grace.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like it as much as Edge. Yeah, that was very close to just a tip, taking him down.
Why did Edge go Doran's Ring instead of Corrupting Potion, I guess is probably what he's wondering in his head right now.
Well, he's got teleport, so we'll see whether he can actually make his way back to this lane with full health, or whether it's going to be something aggressive.
Thought Doran's Shield bone plating would have been the way he would have gone, since that Ryze, again, does struggle in this lane. We had evidence yesterday, but Edge has gone very glass half full with his Doran's item.
Yeah, we now do have the minion Deconstructor as well in the mid lane, as Grace has picked that one up.
Can notice he's being pretty liberal with lane control early rather than holding on to all the stacks for late game.
There are a lot of D words that Dematerializer can be turned into, so we'll see how many of them we can come up with now that we've got a relatively dematerialistic meta upon us.
Isn't dematerialistic meta one where people don't want to buy items?
Yeah, I think it's Madonna's favorite. Oh wait, no, she was Material Girl. I take it all back.
I'm not going to justify that with any level of commentary.
Hey, I got a little bit of a chuckle. Certainly good. UmTi making his way up towards the top side. He's already taken down the Rift Scuttler there. As Yujun, he's on the other side of the map completely. UmTi's just going to go back and grab that first item. Dematerializer actually being used relatively liberally from Grace just to keep control of this wave as much as possible. But he's down to sub 200 health. And in comes UmTi's got a red buff. The flash is still there. Rune Prison going down as Grace has a bit of his shield back. And the trade of flashes is going to go in advantage for Jin Air GreenWings.
Mainly
Once
because
again,
they can,
nonplussed.
Mainly because they can return to mid lane and try to set up a gank with the instant cast CC. Otherwise, you wouldn't want Skarner to give up his own flash in the trade for another laner.
June actually thinking about going aggressive as he will get stunned up. This trade actually could be rough for UmTi, but the Winter's Wrath is going to go wide. And the bot lane is going to be able to rotate earlier here for KONGDOO Monster, so UmTi has to be a little bit careful. Throws out a smite to start this one up, but they know exactly where he is.
He hasn't shopped yet. That's one of the reasons why Yujin was happy to walk up, because he already has Skirmisher's Saber. Imagine that UmTi wants to go for a Boots and Skirmisher's or Stalker's Blade purchase with his first item.
Yep, nice trade there from Edge, who's been able to get all of his buttons down onto Grace in this one, as we've got the Grand Entrance coming in. Secret actually doing some work as Wraith down to about half health, and keeping a Leona low is the dream in a lane like this. Make sure that you can't get engaged on for free.
Well, someone is used, but as you mentioned, lane control goes the way of the Xayah Rakan, and early levels for Leona without a globe or something to profit off tricky.
Grace feels really bad about that hitbox right now. He was missed by one Roar of the Slayer that I have seen thus far, but still ahead in farm. It's Yujin. Sneak his way forward. I don't know whether he was actually spotted as Grace now. 400 health, unstoppable onslaught, flashed out of the way of. Decimating smash was avoided there from Grace as well. So KONGDOO Monster once again putting all the pressure on this man in the mid lane who still looks pretty frustrated by the whole thing.
I'm pretty frustrated, Atlas, because
why?
UmTi has bought a second talisman on top of his Stalker's Blade.
Well, he just really wants mana back in the jungle, Papa Smithy.
No, he just really stuffed up, actually.
Yeah. Pretty sure that's it.
It doesn't build into any other items, so
Unless you want both smites. How could you potentially have both smites? Does it work like Rapid Fire Cannon Static Shift, Papa Smithy?
No, it doesn't.
If only.
In front of his parents, Atlas!
Oh, no. He's just nervous.
He's getting performance anxiety.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunate.
Well, he
spent a lot of time in front of a live studio audience.
And he got MVP in Game 1, so obviously the performance anxiety should actually be alleviated.
You'd think so.
Maybe he's just so relaxed. He's feeling brilliant about it now. I don't even need to worry, guys. So yes, that is a bit of a boo-boo. But maybe it's the handicap. He's feeling bad for KONGDOO Monster and thinks that he's going to be able to still win out here in the jungle, as blue buff will be the next priority for the Skarner. We'll see whether he's going to hand that one over. Probably should.
Does actually mean that they're in a gold disadvantage in some ways as well.
Theoretically, yeah.
Because they are only 200 gold up, and that's a lot of wasted gold for a lower income early game jungler. Does have his ultimate available. Rolling bot lane, here we go.
Yeah, we've got another Shield of Daybreak coming down here from Wraith. Even gets the damage as Sol, he's in trouble. And that's going to be first blood going down to UmTi. Jin Air GreenWings, it seems even if they do have a useless item on their jungler, he's still able to get the work done.
Yeah, able to walk up. I believe he actually killed him with the Predator proc on the Fracture, of all things.
Hot damn.
If that was the way he died, but still, bit of range damage takes down Sol, who awkwardly is the first to fall on the bot side. Jin Air will continue to push up. Wasn't a 2v2 death, and Sol and Secret have had a couple of struggles with those in recent series, but after good lane control early, they're going to be punished. That particular back, and we already mentioned that the latitude to make mistakes in the early game is even smaller than it was in Game 1. They don't have a Camille when it comes to the split push. Gnar is decent, but not Camille when it comes to Trinity Force training down turrets. They are physical damage only outside of the base damages on their Sion. So they need to be there. They need to get the first Baron. I'm willing to commit that if Jin Air take the first Baron, I think KONGDOO just don't have a win condition left to take the game.
Yeah, and I also feel like if this bottom lane falls behind, their win conditions get much more difficult to deal with as well. Roach getting a solo kill up top could be good, but SoHwan is going to be able to make his way back underneath the turret. And everything's going fine for the Ornn, but this was the question mark that we had earlier on. The fact that Xayah has a much further away item spike timing, with 3 items almost being necessary and a lot of them being very expensive. And it would have been great for KONGDOO Monster to actually use the lane pressure that Xayah Rakan provides in order to get themselves a relevant lead, but straight up gone the other way with Jin Air grabbing first blood for their jungler down on the bottom side. So full onslaught once again as Grace, Realm Warp. It's going to get interrupted. Yeah, ultimate comes down from Yujin, and in comes Secret. That's going to be secured in the mid lane as the Ryze does have teleport to make his way back in, and Grace continues to look nonplussed.
Second game in a row, though, that the mid lane is profitable when it comes to the unstoppable onslaught. They walk over Infernal. They can't get full control because there is the Rift Scuttle control over the side of Jin Air. They're looking for a kill on the back end as well because they had vision of the Pixel Brush, but they'll back away. So a kill into no objective gain, and like you mentioned, Grace can just get to teleport back to mid lane, means only immediate gold onto Edge.
Yeah, not going to be able to follow it up with anything at all. In fact, Edge now is going to go back to base. Teleport is almost back up again, but he's not going to use it to get back to lane, and it means that another minion wave is going to be shoved into his turret. Rod of Ages, unfortunate timing there. Grace wouldn't have wanted to go back then because he actually finished that one off. So 10 minutes, still going to be left wanting as far as that item.
And if you're just joining us at 10 minutes, nope, there were definitely no mistakes from UmTi. Everything's normal. Look at his items. They're very standard here.
Totally fine.
Nothing happened. UmTi will definitely want that VOD to be cut off.
There's an extra talisman now put into Cinderhawk. Did you not read the patch notes, Papa Smithy?
I did reach it. They were like an epic novel. It was like
they were
an odyssey this time.
I'm really glad that Rengar hasn't been played yet because remembering all of those things is going to be really difficult.
My summary notes Google Doc is 3 pages long, which lets you know that there were plenty of things going on.
Certainly, as Sion looks like he straight up doesn't care about what Grace is doing to him. It's like a really harsh massage that he's copping in the mid lane.
You can definitely tell that the no damage is being done when 2 points in shield is enough to withstand an entire burst rotation from Ryze. I guess we have to call it a tickle rotation. It's not much of a burst rotation.
Tickle rotation. That is adorable. Well, we'll be able to talk about that one a lot as Edge. This isn't a tickle rotation. As that was only one skill that was necessary to take down the shield from Grace's passive.
Plenty of lane control. This is why people like Sion. He is unkillable outside of very, very niche circumstances.
What do you mean by likes Sion?
I mean, draft it early and feel good about it in the mid lane when he is designed to be not in the mid lane by most accounts.
We understand you guys at home who are saying that Sion not necessarily the most exciting. Nullifies a whole lot of these lanes. So
among the most amusing, though.
That's true. That's true. He makes up for it with funniness. But if you want exciting League of Legends, it's only really when he turns into a train and rockets his way somewhere that's actually fun.
One exciting League of Legends. Let me introduce you to UmTi, who is one of our excitement machines. Tends to go really well or really poorly for him. He is Feast or Famine. Kind of reminds me of Najin Peanut of 2015, or maybe even some of the lean spells for Peanut, where he can be up and down. Not Peanut of 2018, who has been quite on the tear.
Yeah. Sort of started off with an interesting performance, and then from there it's been up and up and up, especially if we're looking at yesterday's games.
UmTi wants to pick up that Impale Predator already. Wants to try to bait out the ultimate from Sol, but not going to happen.
Instead, gets himself a teleport, so he'll take that. Trades the Predator for a summoner spell.
Well, we already mentioned that we needed early game control from the AD-only comp on the side of KONGDOO Monster. Already an Infernal going the way of Jin Air is off book, off schedule for the side of KONGDOO, and any more is going to be a big problem for them.
Damn, UmTi just feels like he's had extra time in this game, as another Fracture is going to go down onto Edge. Decimating Smash will knock up the Skarner as Yujun turns up, but even with the Crimson Brambleback joining the fight, the Impale is going to go down, and Edge can't flash out of the way of this one. Teddy, he's going to turn up. There's a zombie to deal with, but they've still managed to pick up the second kill for the Skarner, and Wraith wants to find some more. Gets the pink ward down. Now KONGDOO Monster will have to get out, and will probably lose a red buff, as well as their mid laner.
Oh, misses.
Yeah, Teddy actually going to use the rocket jump to get himself in there, immediately flashing out as well, but Yujun should actually fall down. The Ignite's ticking, one more tick, and Wraith is going to pick that one up.
Really nice start to the fight. UmTi held on to his Impale, did not ult a full health Sion, knew they didn't have the damage to take him down, only ulted when Leona had made the rotation, and Teddy comes in to be involved in the kill as well. So much more measured from UmTi, who sometimes can have the aggression go too far and be turned against. Watch the replay. We're only going to catch the back end of the fight, because after Sion was already dead, the ult misses, the engage misses, and sadly, egg on the face for KONGDOO Monster. Very, very close, but through the heal, Yujun, lasting of Ignite, too strong.
Yep, Grievous Wounds, pretty damn good. And that is going to be the Ignite securing the kill. So 3-1 in favor of Jin Air. Again, they're feeling brilliant. You were talking about win conditions here for KONGDOO looking bad. I feel like Jin Air have set themselves up with their win conditions extremely well. Get the bottom lane ahead to a point where they're going to be able to have a massive CS advantage. We know what Teddy can do when he has any sort of lead, and then continue to just stomp all over this mid game. UmTi's going to be able to go anywhere and use Impale to get kills.
It's just frustrating for the side of KONGDOO because they're definitely trying something, and you would hope that they've been able to pull off this Sion mid strategy focused around abusing the bannered up siege minion upon picking up a Baron buff. But it feels like they don't have all the potential ramifications of counterplay fully encountered. They've not been able to control the early game, which is necessary to actually get the Baron buff as 20-minute rolls on. And when you are a team right at the foot of the table looking to lose their 9th series in a row, you can't really afford to go for difficult to execute comps if you're not in form and if you're not practiced. Galio Camille seems like the sort of comp that we should be seeing KONGDOO Monster play. Their big win over KSV was the Bounty Castle comp, the Jarvan and Galio comp that they were able to execute. This one is narrow. I see Kingzone, I see KT drafting this comp, and I say, oh, this is tricky, but I can see how it'll work. When it's KONGDOO Monster, and especially after game 1, they don't have the adjustments necessary to fully pull it off, and already you worry for KONGDOO.
Well, Shield of Daybreak is in there. They're using a lot of ultimates just to try and take down this Leona. Solar Flare comes in to try and avoid the damage. As Wraith flashes a little bit too late, the Realm Walk not quite enough as Secret gets dragged in with the Impale. He's going to get taken down, and Wraith feels like a bait god in the mid lane now. There's
no damage to take him down. Everyone's an ultra tank when unfortunately the Xayah needs to be there to get any sort of a kill, and she's short of her first item, the Essence Reaver. UmTi walks topside. Teddy is already there to pick up a turret, and you can pretty much call this one the books. It sounds early, but KONGDOO Monster, they're trying to get picks with a comp that doesn't have damage. Aftershock and the W are alive on the Leona, and through multiple burst rotations, she only takes about 700 damage, able to live. Impale comes off. Jin Air pick up a kill, even after so much investment of time and resources by the side of KONGDOO.
Yeah, and even Wraith didn't know that he was quite that tanky as well, because he tried to get the flash onto the Realm Warp, but was a little bit too late. There's Teddy, he's over here. Secret, possibly spotted out. There's the Gleaming Quill going to fly forward, not do anything to Wraith.
Again, Leona uniquely one of the few pick supports that can pick a Rakan. Usually just battle dances onto the Sion. While there's counterplay, you can flash. The fact that the Zenith Blade follows the dash is the reason why Leona's seen as a good choice into Xayah Rakan.
Yep. The great news here that I see for Jin Air is just the fact that this is a different composition to what they've been winning on. It's no longer the Caitlyn Azir that wants to just get to their 6 items, have the Fountain Laser online with Teddy, and then win the game at 50 minutes. This is a composition that can do great things if it gets ahead in the mid game, because all of the engage options that Jin Air aren't necessarily known for are going to be online, and certainly are right now, as teleports coming in towards the top side of the map. UmTi turns up as well. They might actually just turn onto the Skarner as Wraith caught out of position once again. Can this one be used as some sort of bait as Teddy's trying to get autos across, but I feel like the Leona will just fall down. Teddy can't quite get enough work done, and UmTi's just going to run away. Grace in the mid lane trying to get damage onto Roach, but nothing doing there, and SoHwan on the bottom side is able to push in. But nice pick off from KONGDOO that shouldn't get punished too much from a lot of people invested on the top side.
Yeah, 4-member collapse, but like you say, bot lane outer turret was already down. SoHwan could have completed the teleport, and I would have thought they would have been able to take down the fight, but assumed there would be a full disengage. Wraith was too far up. Wraith dies. But what will they get further from this? Already the Rift Herald is on UmTi, so no other objectives topside. This is going for a kill.
Yeah, they're looking to try and take down the Rakan, but really nice ultimate coming out from Yujun as they're just sharing damage from that turret. Grace turns up at great timing, and Sol forced to use the flash. Edge turns up, and can the re-engage actually work? No Secret gets no one with the grand entrance, and Grace still on decent health in the backline. They'll take down Yujun, and now Edge. They're just trying to fight front to back, and Teddy is so good at it. They'll get the one kill, and the back off from KONGDOO is necessary. This tower now under fire.
A 1-for-1 when it was a 3v4 as well. Good stuff there for the side of Jin Air. They're going to get the turret. They're looking to interrupt backs of all things.
Yeah, Teddy just with some dirty farming on the Tristana.
That's kind of something that Teddy always has. In this case, you're talking about the proxying, but usually it's numbers are the things we're talking about. He's ahead of the clock, as he always is.
Yeah, 20 minutes, certainly a great feeling. 205 CS, but he's also been moving around the map a whole lot more, Papa. So it's not the Teddy of old where we see him sitting in a side lane getting all of the money. This is Teddy moving around, using his advantage elsewhere on the map and staying ahead of the clock in the farm.
Pretty standard playbook with Tristana. She can't freeze a lane, and the turret was already down bot side, so made sense for them to use her for her demolition expertise. Was a big fan of the Talia Tristana comp that they already showed they could play. This to me is a less reliable but a more well-rounded version of what they were running that time, and so far, convinced by the Ryze from Grace. He's gone down once, but has been able to have the Realm Warp positioning at the right time. Tristana loads up, she goes back topside, finds herself in a 1,700 gold lead. 5,000 is the lead for Jin Air.
Yep, it's mid-game skirmish battle composition that Jin Air not necessarily known for, working wonders. Okay, Teddy going to be spotted out here as the ward does come into the pixel brush. Spot out that it is controlled by the control ward. 20 minutes now on the clock. This is when Jin Air in game number 1. We're taking down a very cheeky 3-man Baron, but not going to happen this time. KONGDOO Monster not looking to be caught with their pants down. Now Rift Herald not going to be interrupted. Jin Air should be able to help break open. Oh, actually, no, that's just going to straight up go down. All is needed is a bit of help from Shelly. She's going to set herself up and smack this one down. All too easy is Jin Air. We'll see whether they can actually get any more work done. That's a full minion wave. At least SSol will be able to help.
Could have roared it away for a little bit. Never mind. We'll go forward. Going to be the biggest damage. And looking to use the pressure on the inner turret to set up a Cloud Drake pickup here for Jin Air.
Yeah, UmTi a bit of a Dragon Slayer today. Taking down a lot of early ones in game number 1. Got the Infernal Drake very quickly in game number 2.
I believe this will be number 6. 6-0, I believe, will be the Drake score so far in this particular series. And Cloud is down.
If only Shyvana wasn't nerfed on this patch. Could have played her, although that doesn't really work. 8.4 as well, doesn't fit the flavor of having a lot of early game control and power in the jungle role. As Wraith once again happy to face check. And when you've got a support that's more than happy to face check, it feels really good to be a Jin Air fan.
Hard to see a team fight going the way of KONGDOO if there is close to even members. I think even if there is one extra member for KONGDOO, probably still going to be advantage Jin Air.
Yeah.
Unless it's a very weird configuration of an exploration squad, and Grace will back away. Notice he did hold on to one stack of the minion dematerializer for a Banner of Command banner minion. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, Yujun having to use everything to try and get out as Call. The Forge God comes back through, gets the perfect knockups as the Impale comes in onto Sejuani. She's going to go down. UmTi grabs another kill. So glad his parents decided to come and see this game, and this is exactly the one you wanted them to see.
He's getting the performance buff. He's turning on to the Baron. They desperately want this here. This would probably kill the game. Jin Air for now just looking for the bait. They do have re-engage options.
Yeah, it's the King Zone strategy as they set up for this so many times yesterday. Don't quite have a Thresh, and the Fracture not going to find the target as UmTi going very fast. With the help of his Crystalline Exoskeleton, 3 members turn up on top of Roach. He'll have the Naba, flashes out of the way after the big ultimate. Jin Air unable to find a pick, but they are scaring KONGDOO Monster with all of these engagements because they can do it over and over again.
They don't have SoHwan and UmTi's ults though, so the full re-engage against an opponent with flash is not going to be successful. Jin Air will back away. They'll take their smaller victory. Tristana has already hit 2 items. 2 items hit onto the Xayah is the start of something, but notice that the build has not fully been complete by Rakan. My indication is it's probably going to be a Zeke's Convergence still, because they desperately need any damage amp they can get. Looks like the build that could lead into the Banner of Command, but the Sapphire Crystal does confirm it's going to be the Zeke's Convergence. They need that, otherwise SSol just won't have the punch to answer anywhere near the amount of damage that Jin Air has already put together.
Yep. I don't know whether it's going to quite be enough, but I do understand the thought process. Another Zeal picked up by Teddy. That with Rapid Fire added onto it is going to be really frightening as there's the Dematerializer. That's going to be utilized on the Banner minion moving up the top side. It's going to remain on cooldown now for Edge.
I then think you can definitely reevaluate the game and say, okay, you know, it's probably not going to be needed. Probably won't be the tide changer in this game, and double banner will be complete soon as Skarner is working on the second one.
Yeah.
UmTi pops the Predator.
Wraith actually just grabbed it, and a disengage ultimate out from Yujun shows you the state of the game here from KONGDOO Monster. A lot of desperation. A lot of fear from what Jin Air are able to offer. And when you're talking about mid-game fights, it's not normally Jin Air that you're talking about being a scary team. This time, they certainly are. Bit of a knock up there, but Jin Air once again, a cheeky little Baron attempt. As KONGDOO do suss it out this time.
Very difficult to pull off a second Baron under vision. Is it going to go on to Sion?
Yeah, trying to get the engagement off. He's already down to half health, though, as Teddy just ripping him apart. Flash has to be used, but Rocket Jump's going to be there. Call the Forge God means that the knockup's going to come down. They take off the kill, and Zombie Sion's going to run real quickly after them, but going to be ignored, and Baron should be going down now. Not a lot of frontline for KONGDOO Monster to get behind.
SoHwan hits a home run on that particular Sion. They start the Baron. Teleport comes through from Gnar.
Yep, few ultimates now available as well as the Impale is in there. Wraith is going to get a decent engage as Teddy off to the side. Featherstorm comes in, beautiful flash. And Teddy's going to be able to lock down the AD carry. Assassination Tristana in the backline, wipes the floor with the bottom lane, and Grace is going to get rid of Yujun. No smite, no AD carry, and that should be easy Baron for Jin Air.
No smite, no chance when it comes to contesting this Baron. Double banner will be available as well. I think Jin Air are going to be looking to close the game on the first Baron of the game. They pick it up, clean as clean can be. Jin Air GreenWings looking for the swift 2-0.
Yep, another nice first Baron to come in from Jin Air. 2 games in a row. And let's have a look at this one again. This is like the Kha'Zix Tristana backline assassination.
And Jin Air are happy to turn off Baron. Their Baron play has been very good this season. It's never been a criticism of their play. Teddy's in assassin mode. He knows that he's feeling it in this particular game. Can't pick up the triple. Maybe that'll frustrate him, but the personal accolades will have to take a bit of a delay. It's all about the team play here. For Jin Air, the shop has happened, the double banner is available. The Korean at the bottom is indicating the changes to the Baron buff and the fact that it gets stronger and stronger as the game goes on. Not full power yet, as we see a banner minion in the top side.
Yeah, means that we are going to have a split-pushing minion wave, which is always exciting to see.
But this won't be the empowered siege minion with the banner of command. This will just be the banner of command minions. Of course, there is no Baron buff around it just yet.
Well, Grace is going to be here in the lane as it moves down, and Edge is going to struggle, but UmTi, he's going to use his, like you mentioned.
And here's Tristan in the mid lane.
Oh,
see how Tristan can do.
Oh, he's going to be Tristan this time? I like Tristan. I got a cousin called
Tristan and Tristana, there's no confusion here.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Thanks for that, Papa.
Tristan's dead.
Really?
He didn't leave a very full life, as Grace is going to have similar frustrations dealing with a cannon minion.
I sent a message to my cousin right after this game. I hope he's okay. So I'm going to help on the bottom side, though. This is classic 1-3-1 with banner minions aplenty. SSol taking a fair bit of damage as the quickness has been popped. Nice grand entrance as Grace flashes and cleanses to get himself out of the way, avoids the decimating smash, and he's just buying time. What is this, tank Ryze as they break the base in the mid lane? Bottom lane as well, going to be going down very, very quickly, and Grace was able to get out of there. Nothing KONGDOO can do, and I feel like it's hit a time in the game where there's just nothing that KONGDOO's going to be able to offer. It's just going to get worse from here, and you can see the game starting to overflow for Jin Air.
Overflowing with good news. They take 2 inhibitor turrets, another inner turret in the top side, running around KONGDOO Monster all over the map, and KONGDOO don't even necessarily have the tools to fully commit onto Jin Air now.
Yep, SoHwan just walking around there protecting the siege minion that's just ever so slowly taking down the inhibitor. And all the while, Grace is moving towards the top lane. The base is broken in 2 places. Top lane going to be the next option. And Grace is just under no threat whatsoever. Tanking the turret, not worried. And Impale comes in and the Gnar just evaporates. He's supposed to be tanky, but he's not. Call of the Forge God goes wide, but it splits the team members of KONGDOO, and they'll lose all of their inhibitors. Can Jin Air just win the game? They've got 40 seconds of Baron buff, and I think that they can do so. Double banner minions to wreak havoc on the Nexus turret. And the Nexus is now open. Massive damage comes in. The rocket jump there as well from Teddy, but the Nexus just gets obliterated. Jin Air GreenWings, one of the fastest series we've seen.
Clean as clean can be at Jin Air GreenWings, and unfortunately KONGDOO Monster, their struggles continue. We said before the series started, we wanted to see how Jin Air would do on the new patch, and that we couldn't draw too many conclusions because of KONGDOO's struggle, and sadly, that is the prophecy that holds true the most. Jin Air can play the early game. They seem practiced. Love the Olaf finally being debuted by UmTi in Game 1. When it comes to Game 2, It felt like KONGDOO unfortunately went more into their shell, even though their comp required them to be even more proactive. There was no noticeable change with Yujun coming into the lineup over Ryze, and I think this is pretty much a replay every time we get to the post-game, but sadly, it's always going to be KONGDOO Monster looking upset because unfortunately it's 9 losses in a row and no sign of it getting better. Yep,
only 1 game victory as well over those 9 matches. That's a lot of losing. To go 1-18. Just so you can see why the devastation is so apparent on the faces of KONGDOO Monster, but if you look over the other side into the other booth, Jin Air GreenWings are going to be breathing a sigh of relief because they've also had a bit of a tumble over the last few and want to try and get back on track. Only another 5 matches remain for spring season. If they are going to have a late resurgence, it needs to be now.
And even a minor resurgence to avoid relegations, Atlas, because they move on to the same match score as MVP at 5-8. That means that BBQ, who we will see after a very, very long break, will also be looking for a victory against KSV to join that group at 5-8. Otherwise, BBQ will be clear 9th spot. The clear 10th spot is KONGDOO Monster. Unfortunately, they were not competitive against the team of Jin Air. Jin Air in every way superior to what KONGDOO put out today, and great performance by Teddy in particular this game, and another great jungle performance. UmTi far too strong for the duo of junglers from KONGDOO.
Yeah, I feel like UmTi has really dictated the pace of both of these games so far. I feel like also in this particular patch that jungle has a little bit more on their shoulders as far as getting ahead in early games, but you're right, seeing a Tristana with top damage in a game that ended at 28 minutes is pretty ludicrous. We'll see who manages to pick up the MVP, whether it will be Teddy or whether we're going to have a solo interview with UmTi. Who's it going to be? It's going to be UmTi once again, 5-0-8 on the Predator Skarner. Haven't seen Skarner be super impressive so far, so great to see him with a dominant performance like this.
And how cool is it that he gets the family buff? The family rolls in to see UmTi, and he delivers great performance both times. Seeing him roll in on the Predator, roll over KONGDOO Monster. That time the Predator hit.
That was a cool guys don't look at explosions situation.
This was really smart from UmTi. Notice waiting for Leona to rotate before he uses the Impale. They actually get value out of Impale on a Sion. Difficult to do in the early game with how insanely tanky he is. By the time we're seeing this, we're not even talking about double-digit levels for every player. The game already seemed out of the grasp of KONGDOO. Some cleanup kills, Yujun going down to the last tick of Ignite. Just
Wraith
good news story upon good
forever.
news story for Jin Air.
Yep. Certainly a great performance by Jin Air, who needed a good moment. Flash really late there from Wraith. Probably surprised that he survived for so incredibly long, but it's sort of how the game worked. Everything going in favor of Jin Air. The early game working brilliantly. Felt like that first gank really got them into a position where they could win. Drawing boards need to be revisited for KONGDOO Monster about 8.4 and how it's supposed to work. It's not pick Sion, win the game, as Kingzone may have made them think yesterday.
Turns out that when you have Sion mid lane, but you could have Khan on Jace top side, it's different to going for a Gnar, or in game 1, the Camille on Roach, one of our top laners that struggles very heavily against some of the talented top laners we have in Korea. They also don't have the mixed damage from the Kog'Maw to at least give them some sort of magic damage as the game goes on. So the win condition gets more narrow, and for a team that is 10th place, it was too narrow. Need to go simpler. Simple becomes difficult, and the closeout was too easy for Jin.
Yep, just insane stuff.
We've got some good news, Atlas, because a certain family favorite has joined us in the translation as well.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to go back to Discord, and it is going to be Joel to help us out with the interview translation. So take it away, Joel.
Thank you very much, guys, for the welcome back. I'm back again with Joel being on the Discord for another translation, and we're happy to be back. And it's another happy day for these guys as well, and really a glad plane flying high as we see UmTi and the rest of Jin Air pulling out the numbers, and really an absolute dominance performance coming in, and they do pick up a 2-0. We're going to have an interview with UmTi along with one of the members of the coaching staff. I think it's been such a long time that I couldn't really just. It hasn't been. I've been here for a while, so it feels great to be back. And of course, we did bring out a special member to see what other implication they could add on to it. And Coach Kim from Jin Air GreenWings has joined us on the interview table. You've been watching the games from the waiting room. And how'd you feel about the victory? Feels like it's kind of a relief that we got this win. And I feel like, you know, as a coach, I should be kind of adding more, but our players are doing everything for us, so I feel very happy about that. I mean, I would like to say something to coach, but, you know, I got to keep my respects to him, so, you know, he's a great coach and he does all the job properly. Yeah, you talk about two coaches right now. I'm happy with both. Really no favors on one over the other. And of course, UmTi, you do have your family members who have decided to join and watch you live. And did you notice that they were there? You know, these kind of this celebrations that I do when I do get the win in front of the camera, it's not, it has regardless of the family members coming here. And how do you see this very bright faces of UmTi when he does that stuff in front of cameras? And of course, you know, we ended game 1 and there's another game left. I think he's a little bit too hyper before, you know, we even won out the whole series. So I think it needs to be a little more serious and a little calm down just a little bit so that we can get a cleaner win next games. And I feel wish you can have a little bit more of that stability. Of course, opinions can differ between the coach and the player. You know, I guess I do have improved a little bit over a while. I tried to keep my ceremonies until the very end after I got the MVP interview. But so I think if he's a little disappointed with me, I'll definitely do my part to fix it up a little bit. Coach, would you like to say anything to that? I mean, he did say he wants to respect your opinions and not being so hyper after games, but what would you like to say about the entire game of the series? I thought we were kind of the bottom tier team in the LCK. And I think we're still on the rise of trying to put out some good plays and really kind of consider ourselves as a mid to a kind of a higher tier team. And I know that, you know, as you personally, coach, you started out with the Jin Air organization and you have been a part of history for a long time. And if you talk so much compliments about this coach, I think the other coach is gonna feel bad. But right now, just coach. And what was the kind of the important point in trying to build this organization altogether? I mean, the reason I came over to Jin Air, and I wanted to bring a big change to this organization in a positive way. I feel like that big change hasn't really come quite yet, so I wish I can do a little more to make that happen. Now let's talk about the games just a little bit. And we did play the games for the very first time in 8.4. We thought that there was a lot of changes. And of course the objectives became a little more of an importance, especially around the jungle. And we felt like that made the jungler's role a little more important just specifically for this patch. It was really just a feel-good news just for all of us in the jungle role who had more importance in getting your team the victory. So I feel like, you know, I like to do the killing, so getting these aggressive things to go in, especially with the objectives, is something that really favors me. And even with champ select, just looking at it all together, we saw mid Sion, and we saw a lot of interesting picks from the other side. And we thought that, you know, some of the picks were very critical and kind of tilting us off, that, you know, we didn't know what to expect out of this composition that they have formed, but I'm glad we were still able to defend against it. Did you feel like, kind of, especially in the mid lane, did you feel like you were countered just a little bit, especially around the mid lane with the composition? I felt like, if we were careless, we were going to be trenched in this very dangerous situation that it would have been hard to get out of if we weren't careful. I tried to just cover that to our team and just to make sure they were well aware of that so they could defend very well. So I wish I did a little more preparation to better able to tell my players how to counter that matchup. And we're UmTi. For today, did you feel like any plays that you did specifically, you might hear a little bit of feedback afterwards? When I put out the Rift Herald in the mid lane in game 1, I felt like I was gonna hear a little something about that after the game. Kind of felt that as soon as I pressed the 4 button and everything about that, it was an instinctual thing. Now I'm just prepared to hear everything about it after the game. And was that a little bit of prepared strategy around the Drake when you got that very early one in level 4? And I knew that the KONGDOO really liked to gank around, so he was gonna have feeling he was gonna be less focused on these objectives, and I took advantage of that, and our team gave us that feedback of these information that we could take advantage of. And I think that those were the little things that got us to the victory at the very end. And we know that, through your personal streams, that you are a very smart player. And what do you think about Volibear, for example, just kind of as a unique pick? Yeah, I was trying to convince him that, NA records show that Volibear is a good pick to go with, but I'm still on my process to convincing him fully. No, but I guess there's still a possibility that you might see it in the LCK in the future. I mean, as a coach, in 8.4, do you think there's a unique pick that you could pull out as a champion? Maybe this will be a little bit something to fear upon? I don't think I have anything in particular. I mean, he tells me about Volibear and all that. I do have the information, so it's not really a new information for me, but so I think he does have something a little bit in secret. He's just acting like he has nothing in mind. But altogether, it was a very clean performance by the entire Jin Air team, and you do get a raise in regards to the rankings in LCK right now. But anything let's say in the end. And we know we're always going to be trying our best. We're always going to be trying to improve our rankings a little more. And that really goes to all of us from the Jin Air end. So we just continue to ask for your support from the fans. Coach, would you like to say anything as well? As kind of the representative of the team. And I know that even through the struggles and even through the hard times, our players are just working that much harder to get better. And we know that we wanted to show better performances, especially early in the season. Now you just keep watching for us, and we'll try to show better performances in the future. And that will be the end of the interview with the solo MVP coming in from UmTi from Jin Air, picking out a good win for his team. We're going to end this right here. I'm going to send it back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Joel. Good to hear from the coach at the same time, Papa Smithy. First time that we've had that so far.
And just so you guys know, that is Coach Fly. If you looked a bit familiar previously of LMQ, Team Impulse, RNG, Phoenix One, and in 2014 was a coach at Jin Air. So 4 years later, returning to his squad, and at least in this game, he will be proud of his charges. A couple of cheeky words for UmTi, but mostly going to be words of praise for him because 2 clean victories, 2 pre-30-minute victories, and I guess the news for them is good. The news for the fans going to be a little bit sad because they're going to have to do without us for quite a long time.
Yeah, there's going to be at least an hour-long break, guys. Actually, be a little bit shorter potentially, depending on how long this outro is going to go. But yeah, about an hour before you are going to be hearing from us again. I'm glad you brought up Fly as well, because when he was the coach for RNG, that was when they made an incredible group stage run in MSI as well. But coming up after the break will be BBQ Olivers taking on KSV. KSV, our world champions, looking to try and hang on to their top spot here in the LCK. They are in the upper half, but they are in free fall at the moment.
Free fall, but because the other teams around their level haven't been cementing wins, SKT losing yesterday, they are currently 5th. But this is actually a bit of a desperate game for both teams. BBQ need a match win to match up with MVP, and now suddenly Jin Air away from those relegation spots, and KSV, the patch doesn't look like it fits them. They need to turn that around, otherwise their playoff dreams are over.
Yep, this is a really difficult time, but what is also going to be difficult is finding enough to do over this long break. So guys, try and find something entertaining. We'll see you back in about an hour. Coming up next, BBQ Olivers, KSV, beginning of the end. 2018 League of Legends Champions Korea Spring Split.